Good afternoon. Welcome to our PHENET webinar series about tools, methods for extended plant phenotyping environment, EnviroTyping as the services for European research infrastructures. In PHENET, in this webinar series, we are addressing a number of different webinar topics. In this webinar topics, you get a nice overview about almost all the activities that take place in PHENET. So we talked so far about crops, forest performance across scales, biotic interaction in agroecosystems. Today, the topic would be genotypes, environment interaction across scales. And next week, you can block it already in your calendar. There will be a topic about complexity of soil components. Today, specifically, we will, in this webinar number 3 about genotypes times environment interactions, we will have 4 presentations and an introduction by Bertrand. Bertrand is the coordinator of PHENET, and he will introduce PHENET as well as the webinar. And we will have 4 presentations. The first 2 will address more the methodological aspects of that are developed in PHENET. Johannes will talk about simulation intelligence services. David will talk about adaptable phenotyping devices with AI embedded targeted towards agroecological traits. And Raul and Walter will talk more about use cases to apply those tools to specifically address wheat phenotyping to predict genotype performance and adaptation to future environmental conditions by Raul. And Walter would talk about high throughput phenotyping on apples. You could put your questions into the Q&A tool. You can put your questions also into the chat and raise also your hand. There will be a short time for questions after each presentations. And we also would like to have that you become active and provide us with a short feedback on a survey that we try to set up. So PHENET is developing a set of different tools that are supposed to be provided to the community as services within this research infrastructures, and specifically knowing your demand helps us in developing the services and further develop the use cases, but also the methods in PHENET to adapt those specifically also to your needs. So your feedback would be very, very welcome. And as such, we can move on to Bertrand Muller from INRA, who will introduce PHENET and the webinar. So Bertrand, the stage is yours.
So hello everybody. It's a pleasure to introduce our third topic today, G by E, let's say globally, and it will be as Roman said, introduced by what we are aiming at through work packages. But I will dig into PHENET in just a couple of slides as an introduction. Does it work? Yes. So we face current threats, as you know, and try to identify what are the big challenges in front of that. So the big threat, as you know, global warming, heat waves for agriculture, loss of biodiversity, soil degradation, agrochemical overuse, all threatening food security, damaging health on a global sense, and also economically speaking, and endangering the agricultural sector. So one of the options to escape this pretty dark future is to orientate our agriculture towards agroecology-based arranged agroecosystem, which would mean more biotic interactions, more innovative practices that are largely yet untapped, and also leveraging on future genotype selected on criteria that remain to be defined and identified. For this, we know we need models to account for this complex genotype by environmental, by management, by species interaction, and for this we need data, of course. In order to foresee what would be the optimal in this future agroecosystem, cycle duration, intercropping composition, cultivar mixture, composition, stress sensitivity, etc. The list is probably very long, as you know. So to do that, we are pretty well armed in Europe, thanks to an extended series of what we call infrastructure, a research infrastructure, which are, let's say, big equipment it's a gathering of big equipment and tools and methods in support to using these big equipments at the EU level. So there is one on phenotyping called emphasis at high throughput, one about instrumented ecosystem, which is called ANAE, one about long-term observation setup across different scales, which is called ELTER, and one about data services in life sciences. And all these four infrastructure are partners of PHENET. And we can also count on some network, field network, community of remote sensing, etc., etc. Those are supposed to provide, yes, information about phenotype, environment, genotypes, student methods, etc., etc. So that's the way it is organized, and just a very quick focus on one of those infrastructure, which many of us are involved in. Many of us are involved in, which is called emphasis, devoted to high throughput plant phenotyping at targeting on the analysis of genotype by environment by management interaction, which cover a large scale of installation in greenhouses in the field, more or less controlled, and develop also tools and methods in support to this to the analysis of the data generated by this installation. And emphasis is backed or is supported by national infrastructure, which can find their kind of mirror at the national level, and a very similar setup exists beyond Europe, as is shown here in this. With this logo, you can see in Australia, in North America, and Asia. However, this nice setup is still not working appropriately, or not delivering enough information, probably because there are still some bottlenecks, and we would really like to tackle within PHENET. That's really our pitch, our mantra. One is that phenotyping and EnviroTyping, despite this large range of tools, is still based on a limited number of sites, not covering the diversity of agroecosystem and environment. And the other is that we still have difficulty to translate controlled result from control condition to field condition, and from currents G/E combination into future G/E and by M combination. And the second bottleneck is that data are produced massively, but still underutilized, insufficiently connected, and in particular poorly interfaced with predictive models. So PHENET is based on this bottleneck, and aim to move beyond this bottleneck by developing and implementing some low-cost, low-energy IoT-based sensor network, developing services based on next generation of high-resolution observation services, promoting and implementing data and model fair-based interoperability principle, and explore new predictive modeling strategy based in particular on digital twin and artificial intelligence. So PHENET is as a quick overview based on 4 technical work packages. And you will have a bit of illustration today. One is oriented around the first objective I showed in the previous slide, and is developing some phenotyping devices that are in particular based with AI and AI embedded in particular. One around Earth observation, satellite imaging, and proxy detection, what we can do with that, particularly to go to the intra-parcel level of EnviroTyping. One about that data, how to deal with data flow to models in particular, and of course data curation, storage, and exchange. And the last one, Johan is going to talk about simulation intelligence services, about particularly digital twins and hybrid modeling. But to be very concrete and efficient in beyond the development of this tool, we want to implement them into a series of use cases. So we have 9 use cases arranged around 4 topics. One about the biotic interaction in agroecosystems, so one on plant pathogen. In wheat, we have bumblebees as bioindicator. We also work on intercropping. It was presented last week. One about GBI interaction. It will be presented today with GBI in orchards and GBI in cereals with Walter and Raoul later today. One deals with the complexity of soil components. It will be presented next week. One is about soil phenology, and one is about sensor for capturing soil health. It will be again presented next week. And the first one we presented in this series was it's a much larger scale approaches for crops and forest, how these tools and methods can help to better understand the functioning or either a network of farmers or a valley in the foliage forest. So PHENET, as you can easily understand, is a matrix of technical work packages and use cases, ultimately aiming to deliver services for our research infrastructure, like I presented earlier. So that's the bunch of people involved in PHENET. For the kickoff meeting. It was almost 2 years ago now. And so we are a little bit less than halfway of the project. So today, as for the other webinars, it's very much the pitch of what we are aiming at, and there will be first few results. But I really encourage you to attend the same series of seminars, webinars we produce when we will have more, of course, more result to show. So today, though we will talk about GBI interaction across scales, I will not represent again the speakers. I encourage you to answer the survey, click on the QR code, and write your questions to the Q&A. Thank you.